Hello, welcome to chapter 2, which is focusing on why I chose grounded theory, but also the practicalities. So how did I and why did I conduct this particular study? So the background to using grounded theory, it provides a pathway, a good pathway that highlights the macro and micro discourses. Its ability to valorise individual stories and often used for topics that are currently unshared or avoided. In this case, the topic was, as you've heard in the previous videos, NQT's perceptions of themselves as professionals and also practitioner inquiry to affect change in the classroom. So I am suggesting that these are unshared and avoided because where does the voice come in this? And I wanted to have a look at the rationale for practitioner inquiry in the programme, and not from the researchers or the General Teaching Council's point of view, but from the NQT's point of view themselves. Because at the end of the day, the GTCS's point of view is that undertaking an inquiry is going to empower changes and to help them better meet learners' needs. This leads on then to research contributions. So, as I've said, little attention has been given to the NQT voice in all of this. And where NQT voice has been considered, the research has been done by those that are linked to those NQTs. So there hasn't really been this opportunity for them to tell their own story independently without fear or favour on that, and that was what I was intending to do. By doing so, it should facilitate a better understanding and also should begin to give new links and insights to the NQT's professional identity and how it is or can be influenced. It has ability to demonstrate the constructed concepts, not only representative of participants' experiences, but also provide some insight to others. So it's always this next step. And again, this has been my aim throughout of this. What are these stories? How do they provide greater concepts? So what does that mean then for others? So providing, again, as I said before, that wider conversation, the grounded theory idea of a nodal point for debate. And at the end of the day, it's about enabling these NQT voices and acknowledging the multiple perspectives, again the hallmarks of grounded theory. Grounded theory was appropriate to do this, so little is known about this particular area of study. The process is embedded and can be explained by the grounded theory methods. The theory will have explanatory power as an outcome. And grounded theory helps me to define what was happening, and that, again, absolutely key to ask the why question of NQTs as individuals, their experiences, bringing their experiences is coming to the fore. You could argue why not ethnography, because again it wasn't about individual stories. It was again about using the different stories to provide those concepts and again to delve deeper. And you could also argue about participatory action research. However, participatory action research is what will come next when the communities begin to discuss what has actually happened here in this research. This research has credibility of study, so it has relevance, substance, scope, the depth of data, and that's what we're looking at within grounded theory. It looks beneath the superficial layers and provides rich detail. It captures a range of contexts, and we're again looking at the value of the data that has been collected. The research, of course, is evolving and flexible, and data changes. The direction did change in this, and I will discuss this later on. It doesn't disregard the value of the data, but it has changed from the original intentions of the studies. And again, when I talk about the trial study, we'll talk about this a little bit more. So, this is also about the research design. So again, as will come no surprise, that this is constructivist. There's 3 circumstances, as again explained by Burke, Mills, Francis. So you need your clarification of position the author takes, and the relationships that analyse power and balances. It attempts to modify the theory, and the creation of mutual cooperation and co-construction. So again, making sure that the power balances are to the fore, but also again that you're co-constructing the author, the researcher, with the participants with that. It's also constructivist because it rejects objectivity in favour of knowledge, and it's aiming to locate what is happening in the larger social structures and circumstances, and this is exactly what I have aimed to do in this bit of research. Yes, the foundation is in relativism, where it is constructed by the researcher, and it's not discovered. Constructed, not discovered. And it is to, the purpose again is to open this inquiry. In grounded theory, we talk about the significance of process. Now, there is debate within grounded theory circles about this. However, I am using Chamazian grounded theory. So in this instance, process is absolutely central to this. By emphasising processes, it forces to identify relationships, becoming data, the relationships between the data, between the codes, between the categories. So processing and ongoing action and interaction and emotions that are taken into response to association. It's not disregarding these, it's accepting that these are there. Emphasising is ensuring that connections are brought to the fore and visible, so that we're actually emphasising where these connections are, and it enables greater methodological self-consciousness. Again, with Chamaz, there is a focused theoretical framework, and basically the organisation of this, by using this theoretical framework, is thorough and systematic. There's comparisons at every stage, and again I used a particular diagram in my thesis to show this. And then lastly, there was this trial, the trial of methods. What I did was a trial of methods and methodology, and from the focus group, and I'm not going to talk about what the trial was about, other than again, it was about literacy through the curriculum and faculty leaders. That can wait for another day. But it's what I learnt here regarding this, using the grounded theory, and it's from the focus group. Once I'd interviewed them, that basically, literally everything sort of changed. The storyline changed. It was hard, it was a shock. I knew this would come in grounded theory and we talk about it, but for what you wanted to talk about and them to talk about something completely different was a complete shock to that. There were key thematic areas that I used when I was running my trial focus groups and trial interviews, but this was also the thing, is that they didn't want these thematic areas, they wanted questions. And it took time for less reserve to build up. And again, this is something, again, perhaps as my, being relatively new to this, my own ignorance, I hadn't totally anticipated. I also stayed true to Glacier's, as he said in 1998, not to take the interviews, but to use field notes. But again, this was a big learning point for me, is that by doing so, I actually missed the nuances of languages, the pauses, the emphasis. Where I thought things had happened, I wasn't able to go back and check and be absolutely sure, and that became sort of untenable to me. So I knew that when I came to do the actual study. There was also, again, the fact that I actually knew the people. I did it within my own school. So it actually then influenced my choice to make sure that I was doing it with a non-local authority, people that I did not know. The other thing I learned about the trial study is about memoing, and my memoing, I realised, increased over time. There wasn't much at the beginning, but as these questions and it became difficult or things changed, I found I was getting a lot down in paper, and that was really good. But equally I realised that I found it difficult to go back to previous memos. I'd done that memo and I moved on, and again, this is something that I needed to look at, and not making as much use of the storyline as I should. So basically my trial study was very much about getting to grips with the flexible nature of the flexible enduring nature of grounded theory, and it was a really good learning curve, and without it I wouldn't have been able to go on to do the study that I did. So there ends part 1 of chapter 2. Thank you.